But I do want to make one more note about all of this before we conclude the podcast. Because I mean, unless you had a lot more angles to hit.
Oh, I've got like 6 more hours to go, technically.
In the last podcast, you kept like opening loops.
I know.
We're like, are we over an hour? Or we should probably close up shop.
This is going to be way worse.
Yeah, well, that one was
I'm going to keep going on this one.
A little bit more principle-based and human, just general humanness. This one we've sort of put it through the lens of type a little bit more. So it'd be a little more tidy. That said, there's no verb for confidence, but there is a verb for a word that is at the base word for confidence, which is confide. So self-confidence is another version of self-confiding. And to confide means to share a secret with somebody or something that's personal through mutual trust or having a baseline of mutual trust. So self-confidence in some ways is being willing to take these assessments, to look at these secret things, these things that we don't always advertise to other people, the parts of ourselves that we don't feel as good about or secure about, but we know are there if we just choose to look at them. And to confide in ourselves in the sense of looking at these secret parts, these parts that we might not feel as good about, with quote unquote mutual trust or self-trust. The parts of ourselves go into all of this. And just like we talked about last week with self-trust, part of self-trust is knowing that no matter how something turns out, you're not going to beat yourself up for it. You're going to have a sense of generosity and care and concern about yourself. That's how you build self-trust, is by allowing yourself to make mistakes and not make it the end of the world. Self-confidence or self-confiding is very similar. It's perceiving yourself through life. And then when you take this accounting and when you do this audit and take the lessons out of life, you don't immediately go to beating yourself up. You go to a place where you can hang with these secrets, the secrets of what you're insecure about, the secrets about what you don't really feel like you've got dialed in. And you trust that that's not going to be the end of the world, that you can be humble enough to take this honest audit, that you can have a sense of modesty. And that modesty where you are accurately observing these things, like you're not puffing things up that shouldn't be puffed up. You're not synthetically building yourself up in a way that you know you didn't earn. I think a piece of this is it's not claiming things you haven't earned, which is something we talked about with self-esteem, I believe, and self-value, I think. One of the selves. We talked about the idea of not claiming territory you did not win. So when you go in to talk about these secret things with yourself, you don't make false claims. You sit with it, you hang with it, and you know that you can trust yourself to do a modest audit. And when you do that, your self-confidence increases because you know you're being honest. You know that you are trusting what you're observing and seeing. You're not going to trick yourself. You're not going to turn your head away. You're not going to pretend something that isn't true. And that's both for the positive and the negative. You're not owning things you didn't earn, but you're not also denying things you did earn. You're giving yourself the full credit. You're giving yourself all the things that you have a right to lay claim to. And that's part of that trust in the self, that mutual trust with all the parts of who you are, that you're not trying to subvert the reality of it through those perceptive filters.